presentation is all about business analysis. The International Institute of Business Analysis, or IIBA, is a global organization that's dedicated to the advancement of the business analysis profession. And to that end, they've published a global standard known as a Guide to the Business Analysis Body of Knowledge, or affectionately known as the BABOK Guide. And this standard is the foundation of the certification that we're going to discuss today. The Certified Business Analysis Professional Certification, or CBAP, is based on the content of the BABOK Guide. So today, we're going to talk about the content of the exam as well as the certification process. Before we get started with that, let's take a look at the agenda I have planned for this session to find out how we're going to proceed. First, I want to start with a brief introduction that's related to business analysis and the business analysis industry, as well as the BABOK Guide. Then, we're going to take a close look at two topics. The first is going to be the business analysis knowledge areas, and that's going to include all of the content that's on the exam. And then we'll take a look at the CBAP certification process. In other words, we'll look at all of the steps that we have to go through to become a certified business analyst. Now, what I hope to do is take a little bit of a break after each one of these two topics for questions. So as Susan mentioned, if you do have any questions as we go through the presentation, go ahead and submit them through the Q&A interface. Then at the end, we're going to have some time for any final questions that we may not have gotten to, and hopefully we'll have some answers for those questions too, and I'll wrap up with a brief conclusion. So that's kind of the agenda that I have planned for today's session, so why don't we go ahead and get started with that introduction. As I mentioned already, this presentation is all about business analysis. Before we start talking about the actual knowledge areas that a certified business analyst needs to know, I thought I should talk a bit about what a business analyst might look like. And maybe a business analyst doesn't look quite like this. However, I really want to talk about what a business analyst does. Even if your title is not business analyst, you might still perform the tasks of a business analyst. A business analyst acts like a bridge between an organization and its technology. A business analyst helps discover what an organization needs to solve a problem or to take advantage of an opportunity. Then a business analyst defines requirements for the solution that will enable the organization to solve that problem or meet that opportunity. And that one word, requirements, is a big part of a business analyst's job. A business analyst elicits requirements to come up with solutions. The BABOK Guide itself defines 6 major classifications of requirements. First, business requirements describe the needs of an organization as a whole. Next, stakeholder requirements describe the needs of an individual stakeholder or of a group of stakeholders. Then, solution requirements describe what's necessary in your solution, and they are actually subdivided into both functional requirements that describe the actual features and functions of your solution, as well as non-functional requirements that describe the quality attributes of those functional requirements. Finally, transition requirements describe what is necessary to move your solution into the organization, for example, from design and development into production. So now that we have a sense of what a business analyst does, let's take a look at the actual knowledge areas in business analysis. There are actually 6 knowledge areas defined in the BABOK Guide. The first is business analysis, planning, and monitoring. The second is elicitation. The third is requirements management and communication. Next is enterprise analysis. Then we have requirements analysis. And finally, we have solution assessment and validation. I think that it's also important for you to know that for each of the knowledge areas, there are tasks that describe the work that you must actually do in each knowledge area. There are 32 tasks altogether. Now, in addition to all of those tasks, there are also techniques, which are procedures that you can follow to help you complete the work as defined by those tasks. In the BABOK guide, there are 34 general techniques. Now, let me explain what a general technique is. You know, any one task can use multiple general techniques, and any one of those general techniques can be used for more than one task. But there are also 15 specific techniques, and each one of those specific techniques is used for only one task, and we're going to be talking about each of those briefly today. Finally, in addition to the 6 knowledge areas, there are also 6 underlying competencies that describe some of the professional skills that business analysts need to have to do their day-to-day work. Now, when you're reading the BABOK guide, it's important for you to understand that these 6 knowledge areas are not necessarily done in sequence. Sometimes they are. Sometimes, though, different knowledge areas are completed at different times. Sometimes they aren't done at all. You know, and as a trainer in my classes, I try to take these 6 knowledge areas and present them in a slightly more logical way that aligns with the actual business analysis life cycle. So let's take a look at that life cycle now. I want to share with you an example of the business analysis life cycle that I have come up with as it relates to the 6 knowledge areas in the BABOK guide, or what I like to call the Mighty 6. You know, a lot of times when you work as a business analyst, you start with a kind of discovery phase where you talk to people in your organization to elicit what the business needs. And that's what the elicitation knowledge area is all about. Once you actually have a sense then of what the business need is, you move directly into enterprise analysis. This is where you're going to work to fully define that business need and then create a business case. Once you have a business case created, and of course once it gets approved, you now officially have a project, and a project manager is assigned to charter the project. You now move into a planning phase to complete the business analysis planning and monitoring knowledge area. Now, of course, you'll notice on this slide that the elicitation knowledge area recurs here, as you will undoubtedly need to elicit more requirements from your stakeholders. And once you have all of your business analysis work fully planned, you'll move into the analysis phase to perform requirements analysis. And this is where you spend a lot of your time to elicit and analyze all of your functional and non-functional requirements. The next phase is communication, and it's where you perform the tasks in the requirements management communication knowledge area. Of course, you might need to do some additional elicitation, so that knowledge area recurs here. Moreover, as you can see on this slide, this knowledge area is not simply done as the 5th step in the business analysis life cycle. Requirements management and communication starts at the beginning of the life cycle, and it doesn't end until the entire life cycle is finished. Finally, you go into the validation phase. This is where you complete the solution assessment and validation knowledge area. Here, you elicit your transition requirements and assess the solution that the designers and developers have created. You must then validate the solution once it's been moved into production. And please note that as you work through any of these knowledge areas, you will potentially go back to any of the other knowledge areas. Business analysis is not always a linear process. It is frequently iterative. So now let's go ahead and take a look at each of the knowledge areas in more detail.